C1. You are listening at FameTV.info. In the afternoon, Lin Yu was woken up by the cold. Looking at the empty and cold room, he felt an indescribable chill in his heart. Her current appearance was not like that of the newly wedded young madam. Her husband had disappeared from the wedding night. It's over. Lin Yu turned and looked at the clock on the wall. It was already evening. Would it be too late to prepare dinner now? She also remembered something he had said to her when he found out that the bride was not the one he was going to marry. Since you are engaged, you should clearly understand your own abilities. You do not have the qualifications to become a young madam. The first thing she had to do was to go into the kitchen and prepare food every day. She scrambled to her feet and ran to the kitchen. Young madam. The servant Sister Zhang appeared out of nowhere and comforted her. Don't worry, I've prepared all the ingredients. After hearing that, Lin Yu smiled gratefully. Thank you, Sister Zhang. Thank me for what? Sister Zhang laughed. She liked Lin Yu a lot and said. You and young master can continue to live in love and love, that is the greatest thanks to me. Hearing that, Lin Yu did not say anything. Only when Sister Zhang went back to the kitchen did Lin Yu smile bitterly. Happiness, is there still happiness between her and Hua Mingho? It had to be known that Hua Mingho loved her sister Lin Huan, not her. If not for the fact that she accidentally dropped the veil when she replaced her husband and married into the Hua clan, how could Hua Mingho have married her, even though she had been secretly in love with him for many years? But in Hua Mingho's eyes, she had always been the bad sister who hurt her sister. Her culinary skills were excellent. It didn't take her long to prepare 4 dishes and a soup. The dishes were all on the table. Lin Yu was filled with anticipation as he waited for Hua Mingho to come back, but she was disappointed. Even when the food became cold, Hua Mingho did not come back. It would be an hour before he returned. Lin Yu vaguely heard the sound of a carriage, and then his eyes lit up, and he excitedly walked out. However, just as he reached the garden, he heard intermittent sounds. Don't. Lin Yu was stunned. He followed the sound and found Hua Mingho's car. The car was shaking and the windows were still open. She could clearly see what they were doing in the back seat. The car shook. Lin Yu's eyes were filled with shock. She thought that she would run away in panic, but she did not. She only watched bitterly from the sidelines. In fact, her expression was cold, but only she knew that her soft heart had been ruthlessly torn into pieces. She was in so much pain that she couldn't make a sound. Ever since Lin Huan disappeared, Hua Mingho would always use other women to vent the anger in his heart and his biological needs. Even so, during the period of marriage, he was unwilling to touch her. Even the looks in his eyes were occasionally like those of extravagant hope. After a long while, the two stopped. Hua Mingho pushed the woman away, so disgusted that he didn't want to take another look. He sat steadily and lit up a cigarette. Following the smoke, he saw Lin Yu outside. His face was expressionless, and he didn't try to conceal the indifference in his eyes. How? The woman groaned, got up gracefully, and tidied her clothes at a leisurely pace. It was not the first time that she was like Hua Mingho, but she was smart enough not to give Hua Mingho any trouble. This time, following Hua Mingho's line of sight, she saw Lin Yu. This time, she was not satisfied, and glanced at Lin Yu provocatively. Lin Yu's heart skipped a beat. She turned around and secretly sped up her footsteps. After returning to her room, she closed the door with a collapse. Only then did she feel a sense of security. However, that scene was still lingering in front of him. She knew that Hua Mingho had never loved her, and it was normal for him not to touch her. Unexpectedly, in this villa, even if it was just a little concealment, he was unwilling to do so. Hua Mingho, how much do you hate me? Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.